Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa. This is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my fall sewing plans. We are at the end of August as I film this. It will be early September when you guys see this video, but I feel like I'm still a little bit in denial that summer is gone. We sometimes get some warmer weather at the end of August or early September in the UK where I live. And so I feel like I'm just expecting that, and I feel like that's still just a continuation of summer, but let's be real, it is pretty much getting into the autumn season. I definitely need to get planning for sewing in the autumn. I have 4 projects I'm excited to share with you guys today, but I only have fabric for 2 of them, and I will explain why that is. Now, I will say there are going to be more things that I'm going to be sewing, as I always do say. Whenever I put a planned video together for the seasons, I just pick out a few highlights because I don't want to commit to too much and not be able to achieve what I've set out to do. My summer sewing plans, I have finished nearly everything. There are 2 projects that I'm in the process of working on now, but they will be finished soon. So I'm happy that I've been working through what I hoped to work through. So we'll see how it goes in the fall. The first project that I want to tell you about is a pair of overalls. I've been definitely getting into an overalls kick lately. I made them and didn't know if they were going to suit me, and I really enjoy wearing that style of garment. I think the thing for me that's nice with overalls, you can pair them with other things, so they're just a good mix and match opportunity. But also they generally sit fairly high, so they give you good coverage, so there's no concern that when you're moving around you're going to have any revealing side or back or anything like that. But additionally, they're often a little bit looser as well, so they're just super comfortable to wear. And I know that I've been wearing them a lot, and I decided that I need to try one more pattern that has been just in the back of my mind for a while, the Burnside Bibs by Sew House 7. This pair of overalls is definitely a big popular one in the sewing community. It is not a new pattern by any means. And what I like about it that makes it a bit different is I feel like it's a bit dressier than just your standard overalls. It has a thinner strap above the bib, which then tapers down to a very thin strap that then becomes a tie. Now, I'm going to get to the back of it in a second because that's just probably a little bit more what's going on with these, but I feel like it looks more like a dress vibe. The top of it is more like a dress bodice rather than like kiddie juvenile overalls bib. And that is a little bit more appealing to me. I feel like you can wear more blouses. You can wear t-shirts and tank tops, but you can equally wear blouses under this, and I feel like the styles go really well together. I feel like the Burnside Bibs I could theoretically wear to work, whereas I wouldn't wear any of my other overalls to work. They just wouldn't feel dressy enough. So I feel like there's good potential here. This has patch pockets, inseam pockets on the front and patch pockets on the back. It has a wide leg trouser that you can do either cropped or full length. There are different ways that you can tie this. This is when I have to talk about the back because it gets a little bit complicated. You can either tie it around so that it ties at the front, which I think is a really cute look, or you do a sort of looping around tying at the back. I definitely need to play around with different ways of tying this. When you look at the back, it's probably what makes them a little bit more recognizable is that there are belt loops at the top of the back waist, and that is where these ties go through to tie up, and you can crisscross them, you can put them straight down, you can tie it just around itself essentially, or you can sort of loop through those belt loops and then tie around the front. Like I said, I don't know quite how I want to play around with tying them. The thing that has not been very interesting to me or has appealed to me less about this pattern generally is the back, if I'm honest. So I will be sharing images of like the actual pattern from the designer of what it's meant to look like. And my issue with it is just I feel like it looks very bulky above the bum, and I feel like there's a slight nappy kind of vibe or diaper kind of vibe that I'm definitely not wanting to go for. I feel like that's going to be more the case if you have a bigger hip to waist ratio like I do. So I would have to size out to my hip, which would mean there's just a bit more bunching at the waist. And I feel like it's just not a look that I'm going for. However, I recently watched a video from Heather of Rye Crafty. I'll put a link to her channel in the description box and put a little image up above if you're not familiar with her channel. She was talking about making another pair of Burnside bibs. She'd made them before. And she mentioned something that I had not realized with this pattern is there are actually two views. One of them has an invisible side zip, and that one has less gathering above the bum. And I was like, ooh, interesting. I did not realize that was an option. Definitely the option I would want to go for to minimize all that bulk. The other thing she mentioned is that she really likes to make them in a drapier fabric, which will then have less bunching. Everything will fall a little bit softer. So again, I started to get a little excited about these bibs because I will say whenever I've seen the Burnside bibs on Instagram, I know what they are immediately and I'm like, oh, those look so good. I just wish that the back didn't look like how it does. And then I feel like with all this in mind, I think the back might actually not be as bad as I thought it could be if I use a drapey fabric and go for the side zip option. And then I remembered that I'd recently picked up some fabric that I had ordered to my parents in the States, and it kind of all came together. And I got this image in my mind that I just could not get out of my mind. And that is using this really bold red viscose linen noil fabric that I got from Blackbird Fabrics. This color is just such a knockout. I really, really love the color. The viscose linen noil fabric is absolutely one of my favorite fabrics to work with. It has the texture of the linen to make it a little bit more interesting, but it has the drape and the movement of the viscose. It is more of a heavier, I would say, generally of like a viscose, and it's probably more like a, I don't know, like a viscose twill kind of weight, I would say, almost like a tencel weight. But I really do love this kind of fabric. It is really lovely. I will say it's a little bit thicker, so it is a good one for those in-between weather kind of days, which is what we're coming into. And also it is surprisingly cool against the skin if it does get a little bit warm. So I feel like it's just a nice, that spring, autumn type weather garment. And so it feels like a good one. The color is definitely very autumnal. And I could see very much pairing lots of different tops under this, including some nice, pretty feminine blouses. It's a bold color choice, and I feel like that is what's exciting me about it. I really love this fabric, and I don't want to use it in just like a little element of my garment. I really want it to pop because it's such a great color. And I feel like it would be a really fun one just to play around with, pairing with other things. And like I said, I think I could really get away with wearing this one to work as well as in day to day. With this full leg, I feel like it will move really well. I'm excited about it. I hope that it works out how I'm planning, and I hope that I love it and the back isn't too diapery. Watch this space. I will report back to you guys. But like I said, I just cannot get this idea out of my head, and I've just been thinking about it and thinking about it ever since I saw Heather's video a few weeks ago. The next project was one that started very much with the fabric first. I am typically someone who usually finds a pattern or a project that I want to make, and then I find the right fabric for it, but this was very much the other way around. I went into a fabric shop called the Good Fabric Store, which was a new fabric shop to me based in London, and they did used to have a location, I feel like it was near Putney-ish way, and they used to allow you to come into the shop if you made an appointment and you could look at the fabrics, so they were otherwise online. And a friend of mine wanted to pop in there to get something. I went along with her, and of course, I couldn't leave without any fabric. And the fabric that I ended up getting was this fabric, which is a jumbo corduroy fabric, very much a super jumbo. I feel like it's like extra jumbo if you see compared to my hand. Corduroy fabric, cotton corduroy. This is actually a See You at 6 brand. The color is called Tea Green, which I feel like is a very good description. It's very green tea looking kind of color. And I bought this fabric with the intention of making some kind of jacket out of it, thinking more like an autumn weight. So I knew this was one that I was going to hang on to until the fall came, and now it's coming. I needed to make a more specific plan for it. Now I will say this is definitely really soft and lovely, really nice quality as you would expect from See You at 6. But I was surprised that when I was looking at it, it's not actually as warm and thick all the way through as I would expect. The raised sections, the wales, I guess you call that, I don't know, but the raised sections are definitely really thick and warm. But in between, it's actually quite a loose weave, and you can actually see through it a little bit. And so I decided that whatever I made needed to be lined because I want it to be warm enough. I'm not necessarily looking for a full-on winter coat, but I definitely wanted something a little bit warmer than just a lightweight jacket. And I may be taking myself more into the winter coat category when you hear what I've got planned, but I will tell you anyway. So I decided I wanted to make some kind of jacket out of this that needed to be lined, which definitely narrowed my choices down. Now, obviously you can add a lining to any kind of jacket, but I didn't want to mess around with that. I wanted something that was intended to be lined. And part of the reason I really wanted to get this fabric and make a jacket is because I used to have a jacket in a very similar color years ago when I was a teenager, and it was like an army khaki green kind of color, and it was more of like a denim jacket style with snaps down the front. I wore it all the time, and what really surprised me is how that color just went with so much. And also it was a bit more cropped, which meant that I could wear it with dresses as well as skirts and trousers and whatever, basically. It was just a very wearable piece. Now, I'm not trying to necessarily copy that. I don't necessarily want to go for exactly denim jacket style, but I did want something that was a bit more cropped. And there's a jacket that I just kept coming across that's definitely been on my radar, I've been aware of in the sewing community for a long time. It is the Thayer Jacket by Grainline Studio. If you are out in the sewing community, if you're on Instagram and the sewing community, you will probably be very familiar with this jacket. It is a very well-known and very well-loved jacket with a very distinctive style, I would say. So I know a Thayer jacket as soon as I see it. It has quite a unique cut overall. It's a more of a boxy shape on the hull. There is a front and a back yoke. The thing that's really special about it is this really clever inseam pocket that attaches where that front yoke section is. It then becomes a pocket going down from there into the front of the bodice piece. There's also princess seams on this at the front to give you some potentially really good shaping and a really good fit. On the back, there is a back yoke as well, and there's a center back seam as well, which again, I feel it gives you a little bit more wiggle room as far as getting the shape how you want it. There's a two-piece sleeve, which I'm generally a fan of as far as having coats, especially coats and jackets. I feel like it just gives you a little bit more room and space and comfort and ease when you're wearing it. It's also just easier to bend your arms, I feel like, when you've got a two-piece sleeve. This also has some patch pockets on the front as well. There's a lot of possible top stitching detail, which I may or may not bother with. I don't think it's really going to be that visible on this kind of fabric, so I'll play around with testing it, but I still feel like the overall look and design is really cool and one that I would like to just see the construction of and put this one together. I feel like it could be a good one to get really stuck into. The other thing that they do say with this one is you can have a contrast on the collar, and I feel like that's what kind of tipped me over into deciding this is what I wanted to do. On the original design, they have a Sherpa or like shirling collar, and I definitely want to go for that look. I feel like a cream colored Sherpa collar on this, which would also then have a cream colored Sherpa lining on this, would be seriously cool. Now, I would line the sleeves with something different, but I found very much what I'm looking for on the Fabric Godmother website. I'll put a picture up of what it looks like. I'm still waiting for it to come in the post because I only just ordered it because I've just kind of solidified my ideas around it. Like I said, I've been putting off my autumn sewing plans in my own mind. But I feel like that will be really cool, and I'm hoping it will be really nice and wearable. Now, I will say, this is obviously going to bulk the whole thing out quite a bit, so I need to be careful with sizing. I will look at the finished garment measurements as well as the body measurements. And then this is the other thing that's a little bit trickier for me. So I have a 4-inch difference between my high bust and my full bust, which is a D sewing cup size. The original size range for the Thayer jacket was a B sewing cup, which goes up to, I think, like a size 18, from a size 0 to a size 18. The expanded size range they have starts at a size 14 and has a D cup sewing cup size, bust cup size. But for me, my high bust would put me more in like an 8. My full bust, if I'm going on the original size range, is more of a 12, and the D cup size range starts at a 14. So I know in theory I should be more in that smaller size range, but because the bigger size range has my bust cup size and I'm going to be adding all that extra padding underneath, I'm kind of wondering if I should make a size 14 with the D cup, and that might fit me better. The thing that's kind of annoying to me is I can't quite work out, I haven't bought this pattern yet because I can't decide which size range I want, and it seems like you only get one or the other. I would love to hear if anybody knows from Grainline Studio Patterns, if you purchase a PDF pattern, do you get the full extended size, or do you have to buy either 0 to 18 or 14 to, I think it's 32, whatever it is, I'll put it up on the screen. I just don't know, and I probably will just email the designers before I purchase just to make sure. But if I'm gonna go one way or the other, I don't want it too huge up here, so I'm probably going to end up getting the smaller one, but then I just might have a lot of issues with fit around the bust, and it just feels like such a headache, and it's a little bit difficult to know which way to go. Like I said, because I'm adding all this thick extra layer underneath, I was expecting to go up a size anyway, but I'm kind of expecting I'll be more going up from the 8 to the 10 or maybe the 12. I think the 14 is probably pushing it for fit around the shoulder and the high bust area. Like I said, so interested to hear if you guys have any thoughts on this. It's a bit of a frustrating conundrum, and like I said, I think I'll just email the pattern designer if I can't decide, just to get their opinion based on my measurements, what is the best one to go for. I think this is going to be a super cool jacket though, and like I said, I think it would be a good kind of involved project, one to get really stuck into, which I do quite enjoy. I like having at least one thing a season that's going to take a little bit more time, be more of a slow sewing project. And I think it will be a really good staple in my autumn wardrobe and potentially lead me into the winter as well if it's warm enough. The last two projects I tell you about, I don't actually have the fabric here with me to show you. And that is because, for one, I don't have it yet. I literally just ordered it like 2 days ago from Sew Me Sunshine, and it's a long weekend, so I'm going to be waiting for that one to arrive. But secondly, honestly, even if I showed you the fabric, it's not what the actual fabric is going to look like at the end when I make up the garment. And that is because I'm going to be playing around with some natural dyeing. This is something that I've been wanting to do this year. It's on my goals of things that I want to do in 2023, play around with natural dye. At the beginning of the year, or might have even been last year actually, I stocked up on a ton of avocado skins and avocado stones. I washed them very thoroughly. This is something I've definitely gotten from my tips from doing my research. You want to make sure you get away any of that green flesh before you store them, whether you're just going to use them straight away or pop them in the freezer, which is what I did, because then that way you're less likely to get brown in the mix. Avocado dye, if you guys are not familiar with it, creates a really beautiful blush pink color. Now, I am aware whenever you're playing with natural dyes, you never know quite what you're going to get. It might be more in the pink, it might be more in the brown, it might be somewhere in the middle. But honestly, I really love a blush pink, a brown pink kind of color. If it's a bit more brown or if it's a bit more pink, I'm happy either way. But it's just fun to experiment and see what you get. I have been wanting to do this for so long, so it's been one of those projects. I do have other things I'm planning to dye as well, but these are the things that I want to tell you about, these two tops that I'm going to be making in the cotton double gauze. So cotton double gauze fabric, I will show you what it looks like because it is literally the same fabric. It's just going to be a bright white. It's also what I'm wearing today, which is why I'm wearing this dress, though obviously it's shirred at the top. You're only getting so much of an idea of what it looks like. But cotton double gauze fabric, it's very distinctive. It has this really crinkly look to it. It is 2 layers of very fine fabric that have been stitched together. What I like about cotton double gauze fabric is I feel like it's such a good one for like the transitional seasons, and that is because it has this really loose weave, so you get really good airflow through it when it's warm, but because it's 2 layers of fabric stuck together, it's also going to keep you cooler when it's a little bit, keep you warmer rather, when it's a little bit cooler. So it's a great one to me for spring and fall. And so it seemed like a good option for going into the fall to make some tops out of this fabric. Like I said, it's bright white. I'll pop a picture in, but you can imagine what that's going to look like. Now, I am planning to make these tops up before I dye them, and that's just because I feel like it's more likely to get an even dye than if it was just big yardage of fabric. I feel like that would be hard to kind of lay flat and distribute evenly in the pot when I'm doing the dye bath. I'm also going to be sewing with white cotton thread so that way it will take the dye as well as the fabric. So hopefully there won't be any popping thread looking really unmatching by the time I finish these garments. But I do want to tell you about the 2 tops because I am excited about both of them. The first one is one that I have really been meaning to make for ages. It's actually going to be the second version I've made of this top. The Peppermint Wrap top is a free pattern from Peppermint magazine designed by LB Textiles. Now, the first version I made of this is such a staple in my wardrobe. I really do love this top, and I think particularly this summer I've been really getting a lot out of wearing this top. It's a lovely proper wrap style top made for woven fabrics. The one that I made before is in a beautiful cotton linen fabric in a lovely pale blue. What I like about this is it's a super versatile piece. I feel like this one can look really good, more casual or more dressy. It's a really good height, a really good length, so that it works well with things that are more cropped, but also things that are more of like a mid-rise. I really do just like the general shape and fit of it though. I did do a full bust adjustment on mine just to make sure that I had enough room in the bust, but the crossover, the way that it sits on me is just exactly where I want a wrap top to sit. I've actually stolen this neckline for other garments because I'm such a fan of how this sits on me. It's never too low or gapey or revealing, but it's not too high either. I don't want my wrap tops to be wrapping like right up at the neckline. And I feel like this is just perfect for me. The construction of this is really nice as well. It's made with completely French seams all throughout, including the sleeves and the shoulder head. I just really do like the little sleeve as well. It's like a 3/4 length sleeve that's just the right amount of looseness. I've been wanting to make another one of these tops since I've made it, and I have no idea what's taken me so long, but I saw somebody had made one of these in a double gauze fabric recently, and it was just like, that is so good. Because you have this natural like scrunchy quality to the fabric, where it bunches together and it's wrapping around, it just looks so perfect, like it's meant to do that. This type of fabric does gather really well, and it can be quite light and poofy, but it does also sort of scrunch up really well, and it looks so great on a wrap top. I'm really excited to get this one made up in this fabric. And then the other is a new to me pattern by Itch to Stitch. I want to make the Lemont top, which is one that I hadn't seen before. It has a really unique shape. It has a really unique style. This has princess seams going down the front and the back. It has a dolman sleeve, so it's like a grown on sleeve, and that's part of the princess seam. It has a really nice puff at the top of the shoulder, a nice puff where it gathers together at the end of the hem, and it's a fairly relaxed fit, I would say. It's got a good scoop neck that's not too low, not too high. It's got bias binding finish, both at the neckline and at the cuffs of the sleeves. I really was also drawn to this one because I have been kind of on a bit of an Itch to Stitch kick since learning that they have a full bust cup size option. So if you have a 3 or more inch difference between your high and your full bust, you make the full bust cup size, and that generally will fit you better. I've had good success when I've tried making their patterns before with the full bust cup piece, and so I feel like this one should fit me pretty well. I wasn't quite sure about that dolman sleeve. It was going to look a little bit too bunchy under the arms, but I have been scrolling the hashtag for this, and I feel like it just looks really good on like all different shapes, all different size people wearing it. I also really like the way that sleeve goes in. If you have something that's like a stripe or a check design, you get that really interesting like standout moment where it attaches to the bodice of the princess seam. It's such a cool and interesting design, and I feel like if I like the look and the shape of this one, I could very much see myself making more of these. It has like a relaxed feminine vibe. It's not too dressy. I feel like it's, again, one of those good in-between things for me that I can wear both for work or I can wear at home. I think this would theoretically look super cute under some Burnside bibs. Just gonna say, if the colors go well together, same with the Peppermint wrap top, to be fair. I think that they both would go well under those bibs. But I feel like it would just be a really good, just versatile top to have in my wardrobe. And like I said, if I really like it, I could see myself making many more of this top. I like that there is the gathering detail that I think would work really well with the cotton double gauze, because I know that it does kind of poof up and gather really effectively. I think it's going to be a really beautiful top, and I just hope that these work out well with the dye, but you only live once. I definitely want to have a try of my avocado dyeing, and I'm going to go for it with projects that I am actually really excited about. So those are the 4 key projects that I'm planning to sew this coming autumn. Like I said, I'm flexible. There are other things probably that will come in, but I'm really hoping to get these 4 sewn up. Please do let me know if you've made any of these patterns before, particularly ones that are new to me. I would love to hear your experiences, good and bad. or if you have any thoughts on what I'm planning to make, or if you want to share with me what you're planning to make. I'm always looking for new ideas, and I feel like this is a good time of year where you can really play around with some layering pieces, starting to get a little bit cozy. If you're in the southern hemisphere, I feel like a lot of these transitional pieces actually really work, whether you're going from cold to hot or hot to cold. So please do share with me plans wherever you are in the world, what you're hoping to make this fall. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Please do give me a like if you did. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you want to see more of my videos, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!